Syria is making global headlines with a historical twist. Over 5 decades of Assad's family rule have come to an end. Rebel forces have already taken Damascus, and Bashar al-Assad, who had dominated Syrian politics since 2000, is nowhere to be found. As of Sunday, Assad's whereabouts remain unknown. Opposition forces have declared the capital Damascus liberated, marking the likely collapse of the Assad dynasty. But who exactly is Bashar al-Assad, and how did he shape Syria's recent history? Bashar's story starts with his father, Hafez al-Assad, who ruled Syria with an iron fist starting from the 1970s until his death in 2000. Hafez's reign was defined by brutal crackdowns, most notably the Hama massacre in 1982, where thousands of lives were lost in an effort to suppress an Islamist uprising. Bashar, born on September 11, 1965, wasn't initially expected to inherit power. His older brother Bashar was being groomed for leadership, but after Bashar's tragic death in a car accident in 1994, Bashar's life changed completely. Returning from his medical career in London, he underwent military and political training, and when Hafez al-Assad passed away in 2000, the Syrian parliament lowered the presidential age requirement, clearing the path for Bashar to take power. Initially, there was hope. With his Western education and calm demeanor, many believed that Bashar would bring reform to Syria. But those hopes quickly faded. While his early presidency saw some attempts at economic liberalization, within just a few years, the regime was cracking down on dissidents, and Bashar's promise of change evaporated. The real test of his leadership came in 2011 during the Arab Spring. What began as peaceful protests against the Assad regime grew into a brutal civil war after his government responded with excessive violence. His forces used everything from barrel bombs to chemical weapons, drawing international condemnation. Despite this, Assad clung to power, backed by Russia and Iran. Russia's military intervention in Syria in 2015 turned the tide, helping Assad regain significant territory with relentless airstrikes. Iranian-backed militias and Hezbollah forces provided vital support on the ground, keeping Assad's grip on power. As Assad ruled, Syria became a nation torn apart by violence. Cities like Aleppo and Homs were reduced to rubble, and over 500,000 Syrians lost their lives. The country's infrastructure was decimated, and millions were displaced, creating one of the worst humanitarian crises of the 21st century. Yet Assad remained, framing his rule as the only way to maintain stability and fight extremism, particularly from groups like ISIS. But by late 2024, the tide had turned. A sudden massive rebel offensive led to the fall of key cities, including Damascus. Opposition forces, including the Islamist group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, also known as HTS, declared victory. Reports suggest that Assad fled the capital, possibly via Damascus International Airport, but his exact whereabouts remain unknown. For Syrians, this marks the end of an era defined by authoritarianism and suffering. But the road ahead is anything but clear. Rebel factions remain divided, and the task of rebuilding a war-torn nation is daunting. Bashar al-Assad's departure closes a brutal chapter in Syria's history, but his legacy of violence and oppression will linger. As the country looks to the future, one thing remains certain. Syria is at a crossroads, and what comes next is still uncertain. Bureau Report, India Today, Global.